This is Super Triz back with more square business. And this morning I'm going to be talking about Young Buck and the gay dilemma. For those that don't know who Young Buck is, he's a rapper, recording artist, a former or perhaps current member of G Unit, spearheaded by 50 Cent. And he is, I believe, from an area of Tennessee. This particular rapper by the name of Young Buck has had a very prolific career. Very popular rapper, world-renowned figure. For those of you who don't know who he is, just look him up. He was the real deal as far as music is concerned. But it appears that he's got himself caught up in some sort of quagmire. Mr. Young Buck has recently had an alleged encounter with a member of the transgender community. Now, previously, Star from Star in the Morning, starring Buck Wild, Star Chamber, also known as Troy Terrain, did an interview with an individual who alleges to have had an ongoing relationship with Young Buck. This interview occurred quite some time ago, at least a year, if not longer. But this particular individual was a man, presented himself to be as a man, dressed in attire reminiscent of the male gender. This individual claims that he retained all of his male parts. This individual claimed that he engaged in sexual contact with the rapper Young Buck in more ways than one. I'll let you use your imagination. Fast forward, or actually, let's go back a little bit further. There was an individual by the name of Starlito who claimed that Young Buck was gay and claimed to have evidence supporting his allegations. Subsequently, there was an altercation between the two of them, Starlito and Young Buck, following those allegations. Now, let's fast forward to the current situation where Young Buck was alleged to have engaged in an ongoing relationship with a transgender individual. This individual released quote unquote receipts, um, text message communication, video footage, and a phone call, all alleged to have occurred between this individual and the rapper we know as Young Buck. Now, Young Buck denied these allegations vehemently, furthermore threatening bodily harm on unspecified individuals involved in this situation. He also had a phone conversation, allegedly, with this individual, urging this individual to issue a retraction of sorts. Throughout this phone call, this individual repeatedly said "bae" or "babe," a term of endearment in the urban community. Makes you wonder if there truly was some sort of relationship between the two. But I digress. This is all alleged. The bigger question is, Should young Buck step forward? Should he admit that he is indeed a member of the gay, lesbian, and transgender community? He has been urged by several of his counterparts in the rap community, as well as other individuals who are not necessarily rappers, but people who revere Young Buck. And they too are urging him to come forward with the truth. You hear things like he should just come out the closet, he should just admit that he is in fact gay. And again, this is all alleged. But let's pretend for a moment that Young Buck really is gay. Now, the question is, if he is gay, should he be obligated to tell people? Should he be obligated to divulge details of his private sexual life? Now, I, for instance, have a very sketchy sexual history. This sexual history involves women, but it involves women who are, how should I say this, not suitable for public viewing in some cases. And I know we've all been there. We've been involved with women late at night. You go to the club, shoot your shot, then you become unsuccessful. Your standards lower, shoot some more shots, still no success. You lower your standards even more. Now you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Now the women that you're pursuing are women that you would not want to be seen with in daylight hours. I think it's safe to say that we've all been down that route at one point or another, where we've been involved with women behind closed doors that we wouldn't necessarily broadcast our associations with in public. Some men have been involved with women who are overweight. Some men have been involved with women who are aesthetically unappealing, I should say. Women who have questionable backgrounds as far as their occupations. Maybe they're in the adult entertainment industry. Perhaps they're escorting. Some men have even been involved with women who are under the influence or who are suffering from drug abuse. Women who have disregarded their personal hygiene and appearance. Definitely not the type of woman you would want to be seen with. But because you're involved with women doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to broadcast that you're involved with these women. I think that Young Buck should not be obligated to tell people what he does behind closed doors. Personally, I don't care. Obviously, when news like this breaks, the jokes are going to come out. People are going to make fun of him. They're going to compare his sexual preference to his quote unquote lifestyle that he portrays in his music. And they're going to use that lifestyle that he portrays in his music. And they're going to say, well, there is a discrepancy between what you do behind closed doors and what you do out in the open. The question is, how can you be a gangster and be involved with people of the same sex? Well, obviously, there's individuals in prison who are every bit a gangster and who are involved with other men. But again, I digress on that. But I believe it's the general public who just wants to be in people's business. If Young Buck were to come out right now and say that he was gay, people are still going to make fun of him. They're going to laugh, laugh, laugh. They're going to make music about him. He's going to be the butt of every joke. He's going to be in a lot of lyrics for years to come. So from his perspective, why would he? From my perspective, why should he? I think that a lot of men worldwide do things that they really have no business doing. Certainly not to the extent of Young Buck. The actual percentage of homosexual men in the US is actually quite low. And I believe it's quite low abroad. We're talking definitely less than 10% of the population. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's the lifestyle he wants to lead, then so be it. But at any rate, it's not an epidemic. Something that he does, allegedly. And it's his own personal choice. He is by no means obligated to make anyone aware of his personal sexual choices. Junk Pile Video, what's up? I see you in the chat. Still getting used to this YouTube thing, and I'm actually using Google Hangouts, and I'm looking at my live chat on a separate device. I'm looking at the chat on my phone. Thanks again for pointing me in the right direction in order to encode my videos, actually encode my audio to be able to convert it into video. I really appreciate that, Junk Pile Video. Make sure you subscribe to his channel if you're catching this on the rebroadcast. But as far as Young Buck, let's say the tables were turned and this was a woman. And this woman was engaging in a relationship with another woman. And she was keeping it under wraps for whatever reason. Would there be such an outcry for her to come forward? Would there be a calling for her to admit that she's homosexual? I don't think so. I think that because he's a male and in a society that we live in, this is the reason why it's such an issue. Now, society and mass media would have you believe that women have it so hard here in the US, but there's a lot of men who have it hard. And I want to say shout out to the gay community, those individuals who are going through a gay dilemma. But I believe that if you're gay and that's the lifestyle you choose to lead, that's your personal business. That's your personal opinion. I'm not obligated. No one expects me to go around and announce that I'm heterosexual. No one expects me to go around and announce that I like to have sex with women, that I'm sexually attracted to women, that I'm enthralled by women. There's no expectation of that from me. But for some reason, there's an expectation of that from Young Buck. A lot of women out here who've had sexual exploits in the past with other women. But if you ask them today what their sexuality is, they'll say that they're straight. But if a man has one sexual encounter, even a passing thought of another man, he's considered gay. And I'm not debating that. I believe that does make you indeed homosexual. I don't believe that's something that you can switch on and off. I think that if you're gay, then you're homosexual, you're homosexual. You know, some people are homosexual, and I think this is all part of nature's plan, population control, and things of that nature. But women, on the other hand, are able to pick and choose their sexuality at a whim. One minute they're gay, next minute, oh, they were just experimenting. Later on in life, they're straight. And their past sexual history is not to be discussed any further. Shout out to Twin Brother. Hey, I don't know what he was referring to in that song, Shorty Wanna Ride With Me. Maybe he was referring to a member of the transgender community. Personally, I never really liked that song. I never liked the beat. It just wasn't my thing. There are a lot of songs by G Unit that I like, but that just wasn't one of them. And not because I had any inclination that he was, you know, interested in people from the transgender community. But again, I think that's his personal choice, and you know, I'm sure to unfold, or if he just keeps quiet, it'll blow over at some point. He stays out of the headlines, doesn't have any more slip ups. But as far as people calling for him to come forward, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I don't want to speculate on the man, but I mean, it seems pretty obvious that yes, this is one of his lifestyle choices. We've had the gentleman from the past couple of years ago who came forward on the Star and Book, or actually the Star Chamber show, I believe it was, or maybe it was Star in the Morning. Had the interview and divulged very, very detailed. Um, and of course, Star is a true journalist. He actually does due diligence. He does this. He does his research, and he actually looks into someone's story. Just doesn't bring anyone on the show with allegations. He does his due diligence because he's aware of the legal ramifications of just putting out nonsense, and of course, he's concerned about his reputation. So when he brought that individual on the show, according to Star, aka Troy Terrain, the jerk from Jersey, he states that, peace out, Junk Pile. I'll catch you next time. He states that that individual was well vetted. He fact checked, he did his research, and that's the reason why he appeared on the show. So that does lend a sense of credibility to that gentleman. This was a gentleman, not a transgender. The gentleman who claimed to have had relations with Young Buck. Some of y'all may have forgot about that or may have missed it, but I didn't miss it. Check Star's channel, and you can do your research, and you can find that interview that he had with that gentleman, a member, an actual gay man who is a hairdresser of some sort, and who had an ongoing relationship with Young Buck and presented receipts, text messages, and all kind of communication between the two of them. And then the individual that we have now, who's claiming to have had relations and has communication history and things of that nature. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. So at this point, why are we asking him to come forward? I think we've all pretty much concluded, you know, that hey, you know, Young Buck, you know, Young Buck has interest in you know, men and transgenders, and I believe Young Buck might have served some time. Not that that's any indicator of someone's sexuality. Not everybody who serves time uh, is homosexual, but there probably a period of time where he didn't really have access to women like he wanted to. I believe he might have been incarcerated prior to becoming a famous rapper, so he wouldn't be able to hedge that, you know, towards interactions with some of the correctional officers in the institution. So maybe that's the reason why. Who knows? But at any rate, that's just my take on the situation. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you agree. Like, comment, and subscribe. And this is Super Triz with More Square Business, and I'm out.